Bad hires come from when the founder hires more people like themselves. That's a bad hire.
Welcome back to Revenue Remix, where I bring in experts to discuss current trends or challenges and give you the insights you need to grow. I'm Summer Paletti, your host and moderator and founder of Rise of Us, where I help founders and CEOs avoid wasting money, momentum, and reputation on growth strategies that fall flat. Today, I have for you another bonus spin-off episode from TechCon SoCal. I saw Bill's LinkedIn post about crisis communication before the event, and I knew I had to connect. I won't go into details, but I led a company through the Wall Street Journal and Evening News covered it level of crisis. And
Boy.
by the way, I want no more of that. But then when I connected with Bill, I was pleasantly surprised to find out that it was much more than just high stakes conversation. So, of course, I had to have him come on and share his insights with you. Welcome, Bill.
Delighted to be here, Summer. Let's have some fun and do what we need to do as Revenue Remix, man. We're gonna put it together, okay?
Absolutely. These are dry conversations in B2B tech. So if you don't have a little fun, it's not the type of podcast I would listen to. I love that you knew the assignment right away. Okay. So there's a lot of what you do, but we don't have time for all of it today. So I want to focus on two very specific areas.
Okay.
One is startups and one is scaling orgs, because of course, those are my folks. So first, the startups. From my lens, unless the founder is already a serial entrepreneur, that CEO seat is likely new to them. I founded my first company about 5 years ago, and the jump from corporate CRO to co-founder and CEO, it kind of rattled me, to be honest. So from your side of the fence, what is the most important mindset shift a first-time founder needs to adopt in order to embody that CEO?
Well, the first mindset shift is managing their own vision and expectations of their creative idea or their business offering. So, most of the time, first time founders and entrepreneurs are coming from a very creative space, a conceptual space. They're have a risk-taking part of their mindset, possibly. They see an emerging market that's going to show up and they're thinking, I've got to do this. So I'm getting a calling to do that. And inside the business mindset, if I'm going to take a business through different stages, I'm going to start by wearing a lot of different languaging mindset hats. Like I'm gonna have the hat of the marketing person. I'm gonna have the hat of the salesperson. I'm gonna have the hat of the CFO or the operations person. I do want to bring people on from an HR position, but I don't have enough money to hire a full time HR person, so I've got to piecemeal that out or contract it out. The biggest challenge that founder and serial entrepreneur has. The first time founder has to build their resilience and their strength around one word. And the word is trust. I need to trust that there are people that I get to invite or energize onto my team that want to be on the journey with me for somewhere between 3 to 5 years if it's my first go around. Okay, might be less towards 3 years, but if I really want to put a stop on to my madness, it's got to be 5 years. I want to make sure I can optimize my hat delegation and my hat sharing. And in order to do that, I need to start thinking, okay, here's my CFO hat. I'm handing it to my fractional CFO or my person that's going to do this, my billing and invoicing, and they're going to do a slash of invoicing slash CFO, and they might even have that position. Or if it's if I'm going to do my marketing thing, I need to stop marketing myself, get out of my own way, and extract my idea about how I want to be represented, and I want to insert what the marketing to my ideal customer. Here's an example. When Progressive Insurance first came out, it was less money because our technology was so good that it's gonna save money, and the entire advertising marketing campaign was about how technology was going to save on insurance and that it was gonna be able to discount. Man, this technology is gonna save insurance. And then we had all these tech people talking about that. And it wasn't until a real marketing person said, "What is your demographic?" People who buy insurance, right? Yes, that's when Flow and these white boxes of insurance shows up in the white coats, and they started talking about insurance in the mindset of the purchaser. They were bleeding money with marketing at the beginning by trying to sell themselves as a tech company in insurance. What they wound up doing is having this silly person called Flo with this white coat selling this box. They virtually made this box to create stickability inside. Oh, I'm buying a box of insurance. Here's my box for boat insurance. Here's my box for motorcycle insurance. Here's my box for home insurance, my auto insurance. I'm buying these different boxes. It appealed to the safekeeping mind, which is what an insurance person is, the one that purchases it. I want safety with my house. I want safety with my car. I want safety with. So once it got pivoted and they just sprinkled a little bit of silliness in to that process of what Flow was going to do for them, and then the inherent different team people, the interpersonal crazy people that made insurance funny, but also, stretch the bounds of creativity with insurance. And they were able to roll things out. And that's called having the right agency or marketing person that knows what the customer, how to market to the customer away from what the founder thinks. The founder is thinking this revolutionary, and that's true. And the founder says, I can take advantage of it. And also that's true. But what's truth is that how does this purchaser buy this thing? What are they looking to buy? And if I could just materialize that in the mind of the purchaser, I got Flo being an international star,
So
and
weird.
I've got all the different people that work for that insurance company in Flo being a part of their wacky brain. So the entrepreneur slash founder has got to actually get out of the way from a marketing standpoint. And they also got to get out of the way from a selling standpoint. The way the founder thinks that this product needs to be sold is not the narrative that to the ideal prospect or client is. Now, I can monologue a bit, and we most certainly could put a pin in this next one, which is sales is a relationship between, I have a whole slide deck on this, is a relationship
Yeah, me too.
between the fisherman in the boat and the type of fish that they're fishing for. So if I'm a salesperson and I need to go catch shrimp, that's different than I'm a salesperson and need to catch marlin. Different tackle, different reel, and different, equipment, and different type of people, and different type of processing, and different delivery, and different. So, the sales process has gotta be different if you're selling shrimp or you're selling marlin. I'm not selling marlin to a person that can't afford marlin.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, we could talk about marketing. We could talk about sales. We don't have time for that today.
We don't.
What you said early on that I
Good.
want to poke at a little bit, because we do
Please
have
do.
time for that, is the vision. I find every founder is a visionary, and very few of them are able to articulate the vision, even to their first core employees, in a way that those employees understand and care about. I'll give you one and then you can riff on it. Sometimes they kind of don't know. They're like, well, I found a thing. I built this thing. It's really cool, especially the tech founders. But I remember one founder I was working with where their vision was a generational wealth for their kids and grandkids. And they're telling that to their first employees who are taking pay cuts in order to come on board. And it's exactly the reaction I had. I was like, why are those employees going to work their butts off to make sure your grandkids don't have to work? So it's that it's a having the vision, they have it, but articulating it, I think, is really hard for people. Why do you think that it's difficult to articulate a vision in a way that makes sense and that other people can buy into it?
The language narrative of leadership, I like to break into 4 different sections or styles of leadership. And if the person has a tech style of leadership, they're going to have this strong problem solving, which is different than the founder's visionary leadership. The founder is going to open their mouth and talk too much about vision that's too far down the road for the common employee to get there. Common employees going like, "Listen, I kinda like you. I kinda like this company. It kinda looks like a stable paycheck, and it kinda looks like that I would like a job to deliver my skill and mastery for a time of being here." So, bad hires come from when the founder hires more people like themselves. That's a bad hire. So, the person is going to energize with the visionary leader because they're also a visionary thinking. The only problem is the founder does not know is that they're not hiring their replacement, which is what they tend to do. They hire people that are like them, that know about them and like them, and that's hiring another proactive in a crisis, another troubleshooter, person that's welcoming change, another person that deals quickly with problems. No, I want the person that's opposite of that. The person that knows how to set down rules, that sets expectation and procedures that support the greater vision, but lay down the foundation for operational excellence and efficiencies that are needed to deliver the product to the marketplace. So the entrepreneur, the visionary person doesn't really know that their leadership is great to get started, but they gotta back off their narrative when they come into a group of people and they're once a year or once every 6 months or once every quarter talk to the entire company has gotta be a little bit more down the center of the plate, like throwing a strike down, have a little bit of money, a little bit of procedure, a little bit of human resources, a little bit of vision, but not all vision.
Yeah. Otherwise, it
And
sounds
that's
like
what
fluff.
actually got Steve Jobs into trouble. He hired this person that and he got them involved in the vision, and as soon as the visionary went said, "Well, let's just do this the same way I'm doing Coca-Cola because the numbers or Pepsi because the numbers are the same, and I know how to run this organization." He was literally taking and putting a bucket of cold water on innovation and not knowing how to put the person in their sweet spot. So founders have got to really know this is my lane, but I'm only going to talk about this lane to my new operations person or my new temporary CEO that is going to talk with these other units to have them execute for me. And when they go off a little bit, I need to have a discussion rather than thinking I'm the founder and the grand person for the vision and going like, why are you taking me over here? And go like, I gotta learn how to deal with trust and then deal with delegation and then adjust my decision making in order to include other people's strengths so they're allowing or supporting the greater vision. And when I talk about team formation, especially at the executive level, I say, okay, you're the founder. You need to construct the magic 7 that's going to run this vision for you. And they look at me and go, construct the magic 7. What the heck's that? Well, you've got to grow, hire and fire CFO number 1 to replace with CFO number 2, replace with CFO number 3, because each of those different CFOs have a different mindset because they've come from an experience of here's the $1 million mark, here's the $5 million mark, here's the 10 or the 25 or the $30 million mark. Here is what the growth is. The founder has got to get used to plug and play executive team. And so if you bring in a family member, they better have some form of skill and mastery, and you better let them know right out of the bat, hey, listen, this is going to really provide stability for your family. And I know you're doing this for me a favor for the next 3 years. But after that, we're gonna need to pop you out of here, and we're gonna need to insert somebody else that has a different level of experience than you do. And the person goes, oh, okay, well, now at least I know that this job has a range to it. And by the way, if we're successful and you're able to change your brain and able to grow into this next area, yeah, maybe you'll be on the next rotation and you won't get canned before we make our next jump and our next leap to the next unit of affluence that we would like the company to do. So we have a CFO, the COO, we have our HR person, we have our sales, we have our marketing, we have our technology person, and those are all a part of the Magic Seven. And the CEO sits in the middle, and the founder feeds the CEO messages. And that's where they can really embody what their vision is and then extend trust to the CEO and others that are coming in, and then give the CEO notes to give to the other people. And the CEO's got to go, well, I need to talk with this because this founder thing is way off. What are you trying to go for here? And the CEO has got to be a language translator. That's the job of a CEO, is a language translator between
Yeah,
these other business units. And that's about as quick as I can get there from without going into a dissertation on leadership strengths and what lane that they
that's all right.
like.
No,
But
I
anyway,
totally
no,
get it. Marketing and sales don't even the same language. So
no,
of course tech and HR and finance and operations, everybody's got a different jargon, different things they care about, like different motivations. Yeah, it can get messy. And we don't have time for that today because I want to talk to
thank you.
scaling. I want to talk about scaling orgs. You
Oh,
gave
good,
us a
good, good.
little segue there. Stuff that worked at 5 million, founder hustle, figuring it out as you go, super scrappy, dig in and get it done. Is that actually still working at 10 million? Or are you grinding harder and calling it progress? Because the strategy's got you here will not get you to that next level. Something has to change. If you're not sure what that something is, DM me on LinkedIn. We both work with companies that are planning the next level growth. My sweet spot is between 2 million to 30. And I work with a lot of people that are stuck at either 5 or 10. And they're like, hold on, what happened? We were growing. And then the last couple of years, it started to get harder or it plateaued or, God forbid, it dipped. So I know that they need to reset their growth strategies because the playbook that got you to 5 is not going to scale to 20. But then when we chatted, you mentioned a mindset shift. And it made sense to me. Whatever thinking you have that gets you from 1 million to 5, that also doesn't scale. So for either the founder or the CEO, because sometimes at 5 million, the founder still sits in the CEO spot. What
That's
is
correct.
the mindset shift that they need to embody in order to prep for that scale?
Here's the way I like to talk about it. Do you remember that in the past, we'll have to check each other's age here a little bit, that when we
Shh.
were uploading software into a computer, we had a thing called a floppy drive, a floppy disk, and then there was a cassette disc, and then there was a CD we slipped in. We waited for our CD to load our new software into our thing. Now we just download those new software things, and then there's a membership, and then they automatically say, hey, it's time to update your software. You need to update. And that's why you pay us this amount of money per month. So we don't have to send the things in a disk to you to update. Same thing inside our brains. Same thing. We need to get a stronger relationship between the stable part of our brain in the back of our brain and the new and the reaching or the new forward thinking part of the brain up here. So for those of you who are listening to this and aren't watching me do this, I have front one of my hands is over on the front part of my bald forehead and I'm tapping it, and that's 400,000 neuro connections in the front part of the brain, 400,000 per micron. And then the back part of the brain, though, the limbic part of the brain, has 4.3 million. So we have 400,000 in the front and the back part has 4.3 million. So roughly it's a 1 to 10 ratio that the front part is 10 times weaker than the back part. Now, this is what I mean by inserting a new mindset. The back part of the brain has emotion and habit, things we know that are true and are certain from our history. Just gently eye roll here. Oh my gosh, this is going to get bad really quick. Because if I'm sitting with, as many founders are, 40, 50, 60-year-old histories, their limbic brain is storing all kinds of historical beliefs, biases, and fallacies that are sitting there, and they're wired directly to their emotions of doubt and skepticism. So it's very hard for them to extend in truth and trust. By the way, it's the same thing with investors, true, too. So they're sitting with belief, biases, and fallacies, even though the front part of the brain says, this is a really good vision, and here's the rational money that I can see that's available here, and I can see that I want to make some choices here. Meanwhile, this is front part of the brain is a little more foot on the gas. The back part of the brain is more foot on the brake. So we need to integrate our language between the different quadrants of our brain. And so what I coach people to do is say, hey, listen, I have this floppy disk. We all know that this doesn't work. And by the way, my cell phone, it keeps updating all by itself automatically. I think I need to upgrade my brain automatically too with new pertinent information about where I'm going. So what packet of information do I need to learn about how CRMs work differently than they did 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 7 years ago? Yes, yes, yes. I can tell the story about my first CRM, but that's not helpful in this moment. I don't need to recount the story about how my CRM did not work. And it was too clunky and it was too this 7 years ago. I need to take a look at this CRM, take it on face value, figure out how to optimize this or get my staff to optimize this and get that old programming set aside and I don't know, burn the belief, bias, and fallacy out on a wood pile out in the back of my backyard fire pit. I need to get those beliefs out of my head and be in the present moment. And the biggest challenge, and you and I are going to have definitely an off ramp on this one here in the future, is I need to upgrade my emotional intelligence skill to manage my own emotions as I change my beliefs. I got to change my beliefs and my biases and my operational validated habit patterns to get to 30 million, to think of it differently and not think about it in this other way? And how can I then inspire my team to think about it in some ways that I'm thinking about it and they may get stuck? And if they're getting stuck, then they won't do things as fast as I would like them to do things. I got to provide them training and nurturing. I'm going to plug both of us now. They need training and mental upgrading because the way they've been thinking about operations is not the way we need to think about operations moving forward. So the way they're thinking about sales has to shift. The way they think about marketing needs to shift. Is there another, okay, we've overfished this reef here. We need to take the boat to another reef over here and market and fish in this. So we need to chum the water a little bit with marketing in order to put our sales line in the thing to catch the fish that we want to catch over here in this other area, because we kind of spent all the time and we're done with healthcare. And now we got to move into, rehab. I'm just gently moving the boat to another marketplace. So this mental mindset shift is called upgrading the new story. Gently tell ourselves a story that is applicable and start creating wins with the new story.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to sum it up
Please.
succinctly in the way it works in my brain. I'm the salesperson who wants to grow, and everybody is really married to the way we've always done it because the
Right.
way we've always done it works. And
Right.
it has been a source of frustration for most of my career. And I think you just described why that is. And it's almost like we can't help it because of the imbalance. I'm not going to touch my hair.
Yeah,
The
thank you. Well
imbalance
done. Yes,
between
between. That's right.
how much is back here. Okay. You know what? That honestly helped me because when I hear this has always worked, I want to get out my velvet glove and start
Hands
beating.
down. That's right, that's right. They don't even know that the marketplace is moving or has moved or has completely left that part of the lake or the ocean or whatever. You've been fished out, you gotta go to a different pond even. So, a narrative that I try to help people with is, and this is very, very hard to help founders with, as well as executive team, is you've got to start with this kind of like this upper left logical rational part of the brain and teach it how to do one type of thinking versus another type of thinking. So one language type that sits here is problem solving, judgment, labels, validation. That's all happening here. And what I train people to do is I know that you're speaking about this as a validation piece, but let's speak about it as an observational piece. And they go, huh? What's that? All right, let me do something to get you to laugh and your audience too. If I walk into the kitchen with my three kids when they were younger, now they're all in their 20s, if I walk in there and I look at the table and I start out the question, who spilt the milk on the table after breakfast, right? Who spilt it? I will get denial across all three kids, including the spouse. I didn't spill it, I spilled the dog did it, because the way I phrased it was not observational. It was judgmental with my language. Now watch the change. Observational say, hey, listen, and I would pick one person, my youngest, my middle, my oldest. I'd say, listen, when I see milk on the table, that's an observational sentence. I see milk on the table. I didn't say you did it. I said, I see milk on the table. Now I can make a request. Would you be willing to do it? Or would you like one of your other siblings to do it? Go get me a rag to wipe it. I made a request to meet the need for cleanliness or support. I talked to the observation. I talked to the feeling. I'm feeling hesitant, a little worried. I have a need for support. Would you be willing to get me a rag from the sink? And ask them to clean it. Ask them to get me the rag because that's the first step. That's called crossed whole brain thinking. I'm trying to get my brain to crosswire itself in a healthier way. But Summer, like I just said, judgment is what comes out of the person's mouth. Problem solving, labeling, diagnosis, blaming, shaming, all comes out of the leader's mouth instead of, listen, have this request for support. I need a rag. It looks like wiping this thing up. When a founder has that, or when a current CEO or somebody that's trying to grow to 30, once they start speaking observationally instead of judgmentally, the organization pivots. Just ask Microsoft with what Satya Nadella did. He changed them from cutthroat to collaboration in under 5 years. How the hell did you do that? Because he uses the tools that I use. What a surprise. It's like, we might as well use those tools that work. Just saying.
Yeah. It's name
Languaging
the
is a big part of
problem.
it. So that 10 million to 30 million is the same thing. They will say a sentence that validates something instead of saying a sentence that's observational in its orientation. And that's the thing that is one of the biggest obstacles among three others. But that's a really important.
I get it. So we need to wrap up. So I want to always wrap up with a quick insight. By the
Yes.
way, I felt seen with yelling at the kids about the milk. Usually it sucks in the hallway, but I am that mom. Okay. So if anyone else listening felt seen or called out, what is one quick thing they can do today to make a little self improvement?
The smallest thing and the smallest recommendation I can provide is when you start to language requests of others. Usually, the small thing is to use empathy before problem solving. Find the thing that's in the person's way before you tell them what's wrong or what to fix. Hey, could you tell me what got in the way of you coming in on time? Can you tell me what got in the way of that report coming in? Can you tell me the other things on your plate that you're doing that you put ahead of the thing I asked you for? So for your kids, it'll say, can you tell me what got in the way of meeting mom's need for consideration with the socks on the floor? Can you tell me, were you in a rush there? Because and did you have the thought that I was going to clean up after you because I've done that? Or do you have the thought that you would like to care for yourself? Would you like to care for yourself, or would you like me to always follow and clean up after you? And once they get that stark truth that you just said, they have to fight with their own need for independence and their own need for progress and growing up and the word accountability. You didn't say, get your ass over there and pick up the socks. You're saying to them, listen, I have a need for consideration and I need some awareness. What got in the way of you leaving your socks here? What got in the way of you picking them up when you walk by them? What got in the way of that? Were you thinking that I was going to do it because I did that when you were 6? I don't think you're 6 now, but I'm noticing that you're 13 now or 15 or 17. I'm just noticing that you're doing that. Could you tell me what's in the way of you becoming independent like that? I don't know what it is.
Yeah. I'm
And
going to
and
steal
then
that today.
accountability moves on their side, which is the thing to work forward and welcome to both of our coaching packages that we can that we can help people through this because
Sure.
they get stuck. How can
Well,
I
and to
talk
put a
through it?
business lens on it,
Yes, business lens.
every, I shouldn't say every, but most workers
Most.
want to advance.
Most
And
of them
so
do.
you're kind of asking them to embody
That's correct.
the role that they want to be in instead of staying stuck where they're at
That's right.
and
That's
kind of
that's
minimizing themselves.
that's
I
correct.
like that.
If people get a sense that their healthy progress is a job, a move, some kind of employment change every 3 years, to 5 years, if they get a sense that their career is going to move in and out of different positions, and we're here to nurture their leadership through that process of change. Listen, I would like you to get really good at doing this. So when you're delegating it to the person that's going to replace you and you're supervising that, could you like get this system down? And then the next person you bring in, maybe they'll have some ideas about how to improve the system, but at least you'll know how to supervise them best. Yeah. So a lot of fun
Yes.
stuff. Summer,
No,
we
I like
talking.
that. That was a good insight. Thank you. So we're gonna wrap up, but thank you for joining me. I saw that you pulled a me and you put a couple of pins, so I see what you did there.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
definitely room to explore. There's a lot of nuances here. I will consider this a seed. And I will link you in the show notes so that listen, follow along. And for those of you listening in the gym or the car, I appreciate you too. Be sure to subscribe to Revenue Remix on YouTube or wherever else you get your podcasts so you don't miss any important insights or little bonus episodes like this one. And that's a wrap.